Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. I said I would be catching up. If you're wondering why I'm wearing the same outfit as my last book review, it's because I decided to do a lot of filming in one day. But this time I am tackling In the Night of Memory by Linda LeGarde Grover. This is an adult contemporary about two young Native American girls that were put in the foster care system, returning to their tribe years later and reconnecting with their family. Now this is focused on an issue with Native Americans that I didn't even know existed, which is a lot of women of their tribes tend to just disappear, if it's because of poverty or because they can't get police to look for them or what have you. And that's what happens to the mother of these two young girls. Rainfall, Dawn, and Azure Sky are taken away from their mother at the ages of 3 and 4 respectively, and they're put into a foster care system and kind of left on their own. Now this does reminisce of the taking of Native American children to send to boarding schools, basically to force Western culture on them, and that is referenced in here. I really appreciated how blunt it is about all of that kind of thing. The girls are actually returned to their family because of an act passed in the late 1970s, 1978, I believe, which basically says that Native American tribes should be the ones to keep their children, even in cases of the original parents not being suitable. They should still be kept with the tribe, at least to maintain that culture. So I like that it referenced that bigger political scheme. And in general, I like a lot of it, actually. There were times where it was a little just confusing. While the synopsis makes it sound like you're going to focus on these two girls specifically, it jumps around a lot. Suddenly you're learning this story from, I think she's supposed to be a great aunt, and this story from a second cousin maybe. And I referenced before, both in the vlog and the wrap-up that this book is included in, that it kind of felt like I was meeting this family for the first time and everyone was trying to tell me how they were related to everyone else. And I couldn't quite understand exactly, but I just kind of went with it. And so it made it kind of hard to focus purely on this. It's also very, very short. I think it's a little over 200, about, yeah, like 210 or so. And it covers a lot of their life. The girls are 3 and 4. Azure is younger at 3. Rain is older at 4. And by the time the book is over, they're in their mid-30s. So it's a lot of life. And again, it's not just their story. It's also other members of the family. So there's a lot of cases where, oh yes, we were with this foster family for 7 years, moving on. With only a sort of general overview as to what living there was actually like or what happened, which had the result of, in theory, you knew it was horrible that they were living with this overly religious woman who, put down all these rules, but it was really hard to really feel it because it was only there for like a couple pages and they moved on because you had a lot to share. I did like do we have a word? Neurodiversity. There was neurodiverse. The older sister, Rainfall, is special needs. But you don't know what kind of special needs she was for the longest time. And I'll save the actual reveal of what it was for you guys to find out. But like the first scene you see her in, she's 4. Azure is 3, but Rain is the one that like has a pacifier and wants to be carried and that kind of stuff. So it's very obviously stunted development. But I love the aspect of, like, they knew something wasn't clicking in her brain, but every time they tried to go get her tested or tried to figure it out, no one knew. Oh, she's not special needs because she doesn't meet X, Y, and Z criteria. And as someone, again, who works with special needs kids, it can be iffy a lot of times when you're, like, looking at a kid that's not special needs, but they they act so much like the other kids I do work with, and I'm like, I can tell synapses aren't firing here, something is missing, but everyone insists they're not special needs, and so that frustration rang really true for me. I really like that inclusion. It also made it a lot sadder at parts. I will say I also wish that you'd gotten to see a little bit more of the girls because I loved their personalities. Rain, in her childishness, because of her special needs status, maintains a lot more hope and a lot more dreams than her younger sister does, to the point where the younger sister kind of starts feeling like the older sister. And I really liked the dynamic between the two. Not every foster parent they had was horrible, thankfully, because that, I know that there are horrible foster parents, but as someone that really wants to foster, I worry about the stereotype of all foster parents being horrible people that just want the check and are horrible to their kids and that kind of stuff. Especially because my parents both had foster siblings growing up. So, like, actually, my mom had Native American foster siblings growing up. So this idea of all the foster parents being horrible was not a fan. There were, and I'm trying not to give too many spoilers, there were some character deaths that got to me that genuinely made it ache. But in general, it just felt like it went a little too fast. And it felt like it was trying to cover a little bit too much. I think for me, I would have rather it been a little longer and a little bit more focused. That way you really get a feel for how horrible it was being in this foster home and how much of a relief it was in the sense of homecoming in getting to come back to the tribe. And in reality, there's a powwow scene, but there's not too much in the way of them connecting with the tribe at large. Obviously, their foster parents, well, it's almost like a foster grandma and foster dad situation. It's kind of hard to explain without explaining the entirety of the way the family is set up. They connect with them, and there's a powwow scene, but it jumps around a lot from a lot of different points of view. So I didn't really get to feel the sense of homecoming coming from the girls, like, oh, this is our tribe, this is our people, which I would have liked a little bit more. The title for me was also a little bit misleading, or not misleading. I didn't know what the Night of Memory referenced, I guess, because essentially the synopsis in the title made it sound like the Night of Memory was going to be the girls connecting and sharing stories with the tribe, or at least that's what it came across to me when I first learned about it. But the Night of Memory is actually something else entirely that happens near the beginning and then is then referenced throughout the rest of the book. So I might could have read the synopsis wrong or gotten the wrong idea, but that's what I was kind of assuming, was that it was going to be told in this kind of like, oh, we're all sitting around a fire and sharing stories to welcome back these two long-lost members of our tribe, which I would have loved to see. As for the author, because of course you always have to think about the author in cases like these, I believe, so Linda LeGarde Grover, according to the blurb on the back, is a professor of American Indian Studies with a degree in that, and a member of the Boise Fort Band of Ojibwa. So I believe she's Ojibwa. So there we go. Own voices. Love that. Especially with Native American stories, because white authors historically don't have the best track record. Not that they couldn't write well done Native American stories, but I'm just iffy. So in general, yes, it was a very sad at times and heartwarming at other times story. I liked all the inclusion of the political climate and the references to the Native American struggles with the American government throughout, even up to, the 1960s and 70s. I don't think a lot of people know that, like, the Red Power movement existed, but there was a Red Power, a civil rights movement for Native Americans in the 60s and 70s as well, and I like that they bring up that kind of thing. But in general, it read a little bit confusing because it jumped around just so much. It didn't really focus on who it said the protagonists were in the synopsis. And also, it was just very short, but covered a lot. Like, entire romantic relationships are just skipped over. And you turn the page and, oh yeah, they're married now. This guy that was referenced a couple chapters back, they're married now. Don't worry about it. And I would have loved to, like, have delved more into that. So in general, I gave it 3 stars. And 3 stars for me is not a negative review. 3 stars is dead neutral, pH value of 7, in that there were things I really liked, things I really didn't like, and in the end they kind of evened out. If you are interested in reading more about Native American culture, this is definitely a good one. I did really like the powwow scene. I've never been to one. I keep telling myself I'm going to go to one eventually, preferably of the tribe that I have ancestors from. But I liked that one. I was feeling a little bit of heartache. I just wish it would have been a little bit more delved into and done a little bit more cleanly. But beyond that, this book, I believe, was recently published in the late May, so it should be out. Might have been on sale recently, too, so you can check that out. In the Night of Memory by Linda LeGarde Grover. So, I'm bummed. I'm not gonna lie, I was really hoping that would be a 5-star. But I am really excited. I've got a lot of other Own Voices books on the way. A lot of, from, is it minority or from, what's the word they use for it? Underrepresented voices. I've got a lot of those coming, so be on the lookout for those. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, all of that YouTube joy. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.